flickering monitor in the operating room. When I started my night shift on Saturday night, I had no idea that nothing would be the same again. It was actually one of those classic days that I thought would be a normal workday. After taking care of many patients at the hospital, I was going to go home and watch an NBA game with my friends. However, when I found out I had to stay for the Saturday night shift, all my plans went down the drain. My name is Harry. I've been working as an operating room nurse at a busy Los Angeles hospital for 3 years. During the day shift, everything is as you'd expect. There are people, noise, footsteps, life. But the night shift is something else entirely. That evening, I started work at 11 p.m. The hospital was so quiet, you couldn't hear a pin drop. Only the corridor lights were on. As I walked down the corridor, I noticed that the echo of my footsteps from my slippers was bothering me. For some reason, with every step I took, I felt like someone was following me. When I entered operating room 3, the first thing I noticed was the monitor. There was no one there, but the monitor was working. Green lines were jumping up and down. It was as if it were measuring someone's heartbeat. Strange, I said to myself, because the person connected to the monitor wasn't there. I tried to turn off the monitor, but when I pressed the button, nothing happened. It was still trembling with a faint buzzing sound. The green lines were still dancing on the screen. At that moment, I heard a sound behind me. Footsteps, slow, heavy footsteps. I turned around, but there was no one there. Just an empty corridor and the flickering sound of the monitor. "Hello?" I called out. "Is anyone there?" But my voice only reached the end of the empty corridor and created an echo. There was no answer, but the monitor began to flicker even faster, as if someone was panicking. The heartbeat was racing across the screen. At that moment, I was feeling the same way. I immediately called Dr. Patrick in the emergency room. "Doctor, there's a problem in operating room 3. The monitor is running on its own," I said. "Impossible," he said. "There's no patient there. Check it out. Maybe there's a malfunction," he replied. I hung up the phone, but the monitor was still flickering. This time I could hear the sound too. Beep, beep, beep. Fast and anxious. Then it occurred to me. A week ago, we had lost a patient in operating room 3, a young man. He had had a heart attack on the table. The monitor was flickering just like this that night. It was making the same rapid beeping sounds. My feet began to move backward involuntarily. Without even realizing it, I started to leave the operating room. But when I approached the door, it slammed shut. It closed on its own. My breath caught in my throat. I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. I gripped the door handle tightly with both hands and tried to turn it. It was locked. I was trapped inside, just me and the trembling monitor. The monitor was now making a sound like it was screaming. Beep, 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 beep. It wouldn't stop. It was as if someone was fighting for their life. I panicked at that moment. I started pounding on the door. I was hitting the door so hard, it felt like I was trying to break it down. "Help! Someone help me!" But no one could hear me. I was the only one on this floor during the night shift. When I looked at the monitor, I saw something terrifying. For a moment, I felt like my eyes were going to pop out of their sockets. Numbers appeared on the screen. The date and time. The date from last week. The day and time that man died. The clock was showing that exact moment. Then the gray monitor suddenly stopped. All at once, all sounds ceased. The screen went dark. A buzzing silence. A terrifying silence. I couldn't understand what was happening. I couldn't even react. Suddenly, the door opened. On its own. I rushed out. I ran to the nurse's station. My hands were shaking. I called Dr. Patrick again. "Doctor, please come. Something is happening here." When he arrived, the operating room looked normal. The monitor was off. Everything was quiet. "Harry, you're tired. Maybe you should rest a bit," he said. But I could still hear it all night long. Everything was ringing in my ears. The trembling sound of the monitor. Beep, beep, beep. It echoed through the corridors. The next morning, when the shift ended, I pulled out the patient's file from the archives. His name was Robert. He was 24 years old. Heart attack. We lost him at exactly 1:49 a.m. The monitor in operating room 3 had also stopped at the same time that night. I no longer enter operating room 3. I spoke with Dr. Patrick about changing my work location. Other nurses use that room now, but sometimes I hear it as I pass by. The flickering monitor sound, as if Robert is still there, still fighting. Do you think it was just a malfunction? Or was Robert alone in that room with me? Do people who die in hospitals really roam the halls during the hospital's darkest hours? Whispered warnings from the morgue. If you work in a hospital, you hear jokes about the morgue. It's quiet there, they say, the least troubled place. They say that the people in the morgue are the best listeners, even the best people you can get along with, because they can't talk, they can't comment. If only that were true. I wish I could have experienced all that they said that night. But I see it differently. Nothing is as real as that place. My name is William. I've been working at one of the hospitals in Miami for 3 years. I'm a security guard at this hospital. The night shift is my job. From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., the hospital is normal. There are people, doctors rushing around, life flowing. Some are here for their best friend's treatment. Others have come to visit their grandmother. While everything is so normal during the day, at night, everything is the opposite of normal. At night, everything changes. It was a Saturday night. I was on my usual patrol and everything seemed calm. It was past 3 a.m. We were in the hospital's darkest hours. The lights were dimmed. Only the emergency lights were on, ready for any sudden emergencies. As I passed by the morgue door, I heard a strange sound. It was like a whisper, very faint, almost inaudible. I stopped. Curiosity got the better of me. I put my ear to the door. Yes, there was definitely a sound. It was as if someone was talking inside. This is impossible, I said to myself. The morgue should have been empty at this hour of the night. The last funeral had been that morning. I took out my keys. I slowly opened the door. Cold air hit my face. First my body, then my soul felt cold. The morgue is always cold, but this was different. It was the coldness of a grave. I went inside. The bulbs were dimly lit. Metal tables were lined up. It should have been empty, but one of them had a white sheet over it. "Who's there?" I called out. The whispering stopped. Complete silence. Only the hum of the air conditioner. I approached the metal, ice-colored table. There was definitely something under the white sheet, human-sized. But the records showed the morgue was empty. I wanted to lift the sheet, but I was afraid. My hand was trembling like that of a diabetic. I couldn't control myself. Then I heard it again, the whispering sound. "Don't go." I jumped back. The voice was clear and distinct. Someone had said, "Don't go." Who is it? Who is speaking there? There was no answer. But the sheet moved, slightly, as if something beneath it were breathing. I thought I was going mad, losing my mind. Maybe I was hallucinating from working too many night shifts. But then I heard it again. "It's very close. It's getting closer." This time the voice was clearer. It was a woman's voice, an old woman, a voice full of pain, warning. "What's coming close?" I asked. "Who are you?" The movement under the sheet had increased, as if what was underneath was trying to sit up. At that moment, I noticed something terrible. Blood was seeping from the edge of the sheet, fresh blood. I suddenly panicked. I didn't know what to do. I ran to call emergency services, but the phone wasn't working. It never works in the morgue anyway. When I returned, the sheet had fallen to the floor. The ice-colored table was empty, but there were bloodstains on the floor. Fresh, red bloodstains. I followed the stains. They led toward the door. It was as if someone had gotten up, walked, and gone outside. I continued to follow the bloodstains in the corridor. They led toward the intensive care unit, toward the patient rooms. They stopped in front of room 305 at the end of the corridor. The bloodstains went under the ice-colored door and into the room. I opened the door. An elderly woman was lying inside. She was breathing, but with great difficulty. The monitors were showing dangerous signals. Nurse Emily ran over. "What's going on, William? How is this patient? What's her condition?" "She's in bad shape. Her family just arrived. They said their goodbyes. She might not make it until morning." At that moment, I understood. The voice in the morgue. It was this woman's voice. She wasn't dead yet, but her soul had already begun to depart. She was trying to warn me. When the morning shift change came, sad news came from room 305. The elderly woman had passed away at 6:39 a.m., just as the sun was rising. The bloodstains in the morgue had disappeared on their own, as if they had never been there. But I still remember the whispering voice. "It's very close. It's coming very close." Perhaps when death truly approaches, souls can sense it. Perhaps during the darkest hours of hospitals, the boundary between life and death blurs. After that night, I always pass by the morgue with caution, and sometimes I still hear the whispers, and I feel someone whispering that word behind me. "Don't go." Everyone thinks I'm hallucinating, but was it just a hallucination? Or are hospitals really filled with paranormal phenomena? Have you ever been in a morgue before? Ghostly footsteps. The greatest fear of night shift staff is silence, because every sound you hear in silence becomes a terrifying nightmare. Sometimes it makes you doubt yourself and think you're paranoid. For some, this happens on a dark night when they are alone at home. But as a night shift worker, I had no choice. My name is Emma. I've been a night shift nurse at New York Hospital for 3 years. I work on the pediatric ward, the child patients. They're like angels during the day. They're sweet, mischievous children loved by everyone. But at night, they tell very different stories. These stories might be enough to drive you mad. It was a typical Friday night, and I was doing my rounds around 1 a.m. I was checking the patient rooms. As I passed by 7-year-old Lena's room, I heard something. Footsteps. Slow, light footsteps, as if a child were walking barefoot down the corridor. I stopped. I pressed my ear against the door. Yes, it was definitely the sound of bare feet. Children's footsteps. Tap, tap, tap. Rhythmic and calm. But it was impossible. All the children were asleep. I had just checked on them. They were all asleep. I started following the sound. It was heading toward the end of the hallway, toward the playroom. Tap, tap, tap. It didn't stop. The playroom door was ajar. Hospital rules required that no one be inside after hours. But the light was on. I went inside. Toys were scattered everywhere, as if someone had been playing, then left. But children aren't allowed in the playroom after 9 o'clock. That's the rule. "Hello?" I called out. "Is anyone here?" The footsteps stopped. Complete silence. But there was movement among the toys, as if an invisible child was still playing, or had heard me and was hiding from me. He had sensed me too. I was sure of it. A ball rolled, on its own, from corner to corner. Then it stopped. My hair stood on end. This wasn't normal. It wasn't normal at all. At that moment, a voice called out from behind me. "Emma?" My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. I turned around. 7-year-old Lena was standing in the doorway. She looked like a ghost in her white nightgown. "Lena, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be sleeping in your room?" I couldn't sleep. My friend wanted to play. "Which friend?" "My friend here. She's sick too. She's also being treated, but the doctors don't see her." That sentence froze my blood. "What do you mean, Lena? Which friend are you talking about?" "I don't know his name, but he's very lonely. He comes every night to play with me. He's very sad. His family doesn't visit him." "Lena, there are no other sick children here. You're alone in this room." "No, Emma. He's here too. He's standing over there in the corner." The corner I looked at was empty, but Lena was looking at it and smiling, as if she really saw someone there. My hair stood on end. I didn't know what to say, what to answer. "Hello," she said to the empty corner. "This is Emma. She's a very nice person." I was scared, really scared. Lena was seriously ill. She was undergoing chemotherapy. Maybe it was the effect of the drugs. "Lena, let's go back to your room. You need to sleep now." I took her hand. It was cold, like ice. As I was taking her to her room, I heard footsteps behind us. Tap, tap, tap. As if someone was following us. I could feel that sound on the back of my neck. I laid Lena on her bed. I pulled the blanket over her. "Is your friend in her room too?" I asked. She stays in a separate room. She's been here for a long time. She misses her family, but they can't see her anymore." "Why can't they see her, Lena?" "I don't know, but she's very sad. She cries every night. She's happy when I play with her." That night, I stayed in Lena's room. I kept her company, but around 3 a.m., I heard it again. Footsteps, tap, tap, tap. This time, Lena heard it too. "He's here," she said. "My friend is here." "Where, Lena?" "Right there, he's standing at the door watching us, curious. He likes you." I looked at the door. I couldn't see anything, but a cold wind blew through the room. Even though the air conditioner was off, my soul froze before my body did. I think I was experiencing the longest night of my life. Lena fell asleep, but I couldn't sleep. I heard the footsteps all night long. Tap, tap, tap. He was walking back and forth in the corridors. The next morning, I researched the history of the pediatric ward in the archives. 2 years ago, a 6-year-old boy had died on this floor. His name was Benjamin. He had leukemia. His family wasn't with him in his final moments. He had died alone. Was Lena's friend Benjamin? Was he still here? Was he befriending other sick children to ease his loneliness? Now, when I hear footsteps during the night shift, I'm not afraid. I know Benjamin is just lonely. He's just looking for a friend. Perhaps during the darkest hours of the hospital, lost souls befriend other lost souls. Perhaps many children like Benjamin visit this hospital at night. What if one day he becomes your friend? When I told my friends about what happened to me, they all told me repeatedly that I was still their product. But I was certain of what I had heard and seen. And I am certain that these spirits sometimes visit you as well. Sometimes your closest friend, sometimes your closest family member, maybe even your ex-lover. Do you think what I've experienced is possible? Or are all these experiences just figments of my imagination? These things may not always seem to happen, but they are in fact real events. You can learn more like this with us. Night Shift Nightmares will continue to show you real horror stories. Stay tuned.